Hey guys, Shadowz here. Welcome back to a brand new Gears of War video. Yes, you're not dreaming. Gears of War E-Day did get officially announced and revealed at the recent Xbox Game Showcase of 2024 on Sunday from Microsoft, Xbox, and the Coalition Studio. If you guys watched my honest predictions for the event itself, I did state that yes, we will be expecting a brand new Gears of War game to be announced. Obviously, going into the Xbox Game Showcase, everybody was expecting a Gears 6, maybe a Gears Collection, but I don't think anybody was expecting what happened. It still feels super surreal. I don't know about you guys, but yes, Gears of War E-Day, Emergence Day, we are taking it back to the origins of the Locust War. As you can see on the YouTube channel right here, I actually just hit 95,000 YouTube subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the insane, crazy support. This moment, you know, this opportunity right here, this experience is not only for me, it's for you guys, it's for all of us, the Gears of War fans and the Gears of War community who have been waiting years and years of nothing, disappointment, but hey, we finally got it, and I'm so ready to bring you guys a crazy amount of Gears of War E-Day content. So, obviously, if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you aren't already, I would appreciate that. We are trying to hit 100,000 subscribers, which is just mind-blowing to even say out loud. We're actually only 4,700 away, so if you do want to be a part of the 100K club to help your boy get that YouTube silver plaque finally, after 12 years of uploading consistently, never taking a break, never quitting, non-stop Gears of War content, we may almost make it very, very soon. At least for the excitement, of course, of Gears of War E-Day. So if you look at the channel right now, if you guys obviously haven't been keeping up to date, yes, Gears of War E-Day is an official Gears of War mainline Gears game. It did get announced on Sunday with a brand new official trailer announcement. So if you do want to go check out the trailer, watch it back over and over and over again. If you do want to, you know, check out my reaction live from the Xbox Game Showcase, and of course, the most recent video, the Gears of War E-Day trailer breakdown video, where we literally go through every single plot detail of story, lore, and every reference and Easter egg. We literally leave absolutely nothing on the table. Because I'm ready, chat. I hope you guys are ready, of course. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Let's get this 100K, and let's jump straight into an all-new season of Gears of War content with Gears of War E-Day. For this video, I wanted to bring you guys Gears of War E-Day and everything that we know so far officially from the Coalition Studio when it comes to my first impressions with you guys of the official Xbox Wire post. We also do have several gaming journalist website interviews out there already from GameFile, Games Radar, and IGN talking to the Coalition Studio over in LA at the Xbox Game Showcase behind closed doors. Because as expected, we went into the Xbox Game Showcase, me anyway, as I said in my prediction video, expecting a brand new Gears of War game announcement. A lot of people went into it expecting, of course, Gears 6, the Gears of War collection, but instead, everybody got blown out the water, and as you can see, we have a Gears of War E-Day game announcement. So as expected, and of course, I would imagine, even for myself personally, there are so many questions that we obviously have about Gears of War E-Day, and hopefully this video helps you guys answer some of those questions. So as you can see, just jumping straight dive into it right here, it's been many years since we've had an official Coalition Studio blog post, and it's all the way up on the, of course, Microsoft Xbox Wire as well. So as you can see, the Wire post is titled Reinventing a Mad World, why Gears of War E-Day represents the future of the series. Come on, Gears of War, come on. Of course, it's alongside the amazing looking picture image from the trailer right here. We have a classic Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago, the younger versions of the characters. This is obviously the youngest that we've ever seen Marcus and Dom right here. If you didn't know, Marcus Phoenix on Emergence Day is 22 years old, and Dominic Santiago is 21 years old. And obviously, both of these characters, this is their origin story of the Brotherhood that we know and love from the original Gears of War trilogy. It just still feels so surreal, man. I'm literally like a chiming Gears meerkat, just smiling ear to ear, just talking, you know, watching, viewing, just everything, you know, regarding the Gears of War E-Day is just absolutely crazy. But yo, without further ado, let's jump into it and see what the Coalition are saying about when it comes to Gears of War E-Day, and whether or not some of our, or maybe all of our questions will be answered. Probably not, but hey, let's jump straight into it, right? Here we go. Gears of War E-Day was unveiled in a surprise announcement during the Xbox Game Showcase today, on Sunday, alongside an explosive trailer that takes us all the way back to Emergence Day. The trailer introduces us to this defining moment in the Gears of War series that sees the fearsome locusts make themselves known with a brutal ambush from below against the world of Sarah. Here we'll follow younger versions of the series' original heroes Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago as they begin their fight against the Locust invasion. This event is the catalyst for everything that we know and love about Gears of War. I love that! And I caught up with the developers at the Coalition Studio. I wish me personally, right? You know, that'd be amazing for the channel, but to find out why now is the perfect time to tell that story. Speaking to creative director Matt Searcy and brand director Nicole Fawcett, I find that the vibe inside the Coalition is ecstatic. The team is absolutely thrilled to finally be sharing E-Day with the world. Over the last few years, the studio has remained purposely quiet but continuously busy. Good! I knew it! They had to be doing something up there, right? Wrapping up Gears 5, shipping its high-busted DLC and Gears Tactics, all the while adapting the COVID pandemic and its changes to how studios are run. During that time, the shift in rhythm allowed the team some time to reflect, figuring out what they and the fans were truly passionate about in order to find the next great Gears story. So to me it sounds like during the Gears of War Coalition Studio Summit, which took place in early 2020, which was the moment that Rod Ferguson announced to the rest of the studio, the team, that he was stepping down as head of TC, moving away from Gears of War to go work at Blizzard on Diablo, which is funnily enough now owned by Xbox, so he's kind of back. But also as well, that was where the Coalition Studio decided to end Gears 5 operations after Operation 8, and, you know, Gears 5 content seasonal support in 2021, and also end Gears 5 esports in 2022. It sounds like maybe in early 2020 was actually the opportunity when the Coalition decided to obviously get their new team together and make that decision to not work on Gears 6 next, but instead tell the story, the origin story of basically the entirety of the Gears of War universe, really. Of course, from classic Marcus and Dom's perspective on Emergence Day, and I couldn't be more happy. I couldn't be more excited, chat. Here, let's get it. We're live. No, we're not live on stream. Hey, I've been streaming so much. The content grind has been real. Shout out to everybody on the YouTube as well in the comments section below. It says, we realized that a lot of the words we use to describe this franchise were what our fans also use. Phrases like brotherhood, brutality, pathos, awe, say Cersei. Why E-Day? Okay, that is the moment it all comes together. It's the heart of the Gears universe. Everything that happens is shaped by this day. Yeah, I still just can't even believe that we're getting a Gears of War E-Day Emergence Day game. Like, if you remember, if you were there in the very beginning, all the way back on literally Emergence Day, November 2006, when Gears of War 1 released, the opening cinematic states 14 years after E-Day, and I was an 11-year-old kid playing Gears of War for the first time. I could have never imagined 19 years later, when I'm almost 30, that I would be able to get to experience that 14 years after E-Day in an actual Emergence Day Gears of War game. I can't believe it, man. It's absolutely crazy. We've got an amazing, another, you know, close-up shot right here of Marcus Phoenix. And as we actually broke down in my Gears of War E-Day breakdown video, if you actually look at his lip right here, just below his nose, I don't think you guys can maybe see the cursor, but you can actually see that within this fight, Marcus Phoenix actually gets the origin of his first scar by the Locust. Of course, he doesn't have the massive scar above his left side that we do know he does actually get 10 years after Emergence Day in the slab prison, when another inmate releases a bunch of wild dogs on Marcus, and they just absolutely mash up his face, and he luckily escapes with his life still intact and kills them, but obviously he does get a little bit battered, especially on the face, just being mauled by a bunch of just vicious wild dogs. But yeah, you can actually see in this first Gears of War E-Day trailer right here that he didn't actually receive all of these scars on his face from those dogs in the slab prison. He actually did receive his first ever scar, which is on his lip right here, from the first encounter with a Locust drone from the Locust Horde. So if you guys didn't know that, and if you didn't, you know, maybe spot that out, You know, I think, especially with, you know, shout out to Parasidian or Andrew at the Coalition, I think with him there, the guy that is basically responsible for the Gears of War wiki, I think that the story narrative and the lore for Gears of War E-Day is going to be absolutely out of this world over there on planet Sarah, of course. Fans of those mainline Gears of War games can expect to feel at home with how Gears of War E-Day feels. The Coalition is working to recreate and improve the series' trademark third-person action, charging between cover in life or death situations, all set within an explosive campaign that combines satisfying gameplay and emotive, character-led storytelling. However, all of this is told through a modern lens and rooted in groundbreaking technology, giving the Coalition room to really build out those elements. It's a careful balance, a classic Gears of War game that feels authentic next to the original, but with truly next-gen tech behind it. It's going to feel like a new Gears game because that's what it is, Cersei says. It's us revisiting the tone and the feeling of what makes Gears great, but we're tapping into new techniques, new processes, and new technology that's going to make the gameplay feel better than ever. It's going to be awesome, a game that feels both truly new and authentically Gears. Wow, that just sounds amazing. Obviously, there's so much that Gears of War fans have been asking to see over, you know, all of these years, especially, you know, community feedback provided to the Coalition Studio from the Gears community and, you know, Xbox gamers in general as well, about many different things, such as obviously like bringing back the horror, bringing back the darkness, the tone, the grittiness, the rawness, the, you know, blood, the gore, like just really bringing back what made, especially, I would say, Gears of War 1 and mostly a bit of 2, just amazing, just iconic video games that have literally lived a generation of time and, you know, still to this day are just amazing, just classic video game experiences. And honestly, I think personally, I don't know about you guys, but I actually feel like this might be a new peak for Gears of War. I didn't think it would ever actually happen. And obviously, I was going into expecting Gears 6, right? But out of everything the Coalition Studio and Gears of War have done so far, this is the most exciting, ecstatic, just high energy. Like, I'm a gas head, right? And I'm seeing other gas heads for Gears of War right now, you know? Like, I just can't believe it, man. It's just amazing to see, you know, the passion, the energy, the vibes, like, hopefully, the Coalition Studio doesn't leave it too long from Sunday and basically this week to obviously give us, you know, more Gears of War E-Day information and trailers and, you know, hopefully we don't have to wait another year, right? But, you know, if we have, hey, I got you guys covered and hopefully entertained with non-stop Gears of War E-Day content. Get ready, that content is going to be flying at you, just like the Locust drone in the trailer on Marcus. Bringing the monster back. Gears of War E-Day is set 14 years before the events of the original Gears of War and tells the story of the first Locust emergence on Sarah. As the game unfolds, we get to see how an ill-prepared world responds to a threat like the Locusts. The Coalition are being very intentional to recast the Locusts, not simply as foes but as living nightmares. These aren't your typical alien or zombie video game antagonists. They're mysterious, formidable creatures that dwell beneath the earth, tapping into our deepest fears. The design brief was pretty simple, explained Cersei. Locusts are the monsters under the bed. What would happen to the people of Sarah in seeing this overwhelming army of monsters and trying to figure out what you're going to do? Studio art director Ian Hambeck explains further. When players experience E-Day, they see the monsters through the eyes of those encountering them for the first time. The design team prioritized redefining the Locust drone, which had slowly become a mere cannon fodder as the series progressed. We transformed the drone into something fearsome, physically intimidating and utterly brutal. Hambeck notes, highlighting its enhanced status just behind Marcus and Dom in the announced trailer. Getting the drone right was crucial. Everything else with the Locust, we are scaling up from there. And of course we have this amazing close-up shot of Marcus Phoenix, no do-rag. You know, that obviously, you know, got a lot of people put off because they're like, wait, hold up, Marcus has got hair again? You might have forgotten, right? Because obviously you only really see it at the sort of beginning, but also the ending of the Gears of War original trilogy. But yeah, as you can see, like, honestly, chat, this looks crazy. I keep saying, chat, I'm so used to streaming. Comment section, the viewers, the Shadow Knights, the absolute legends still watching the video. I appreciate you. Let's get it. So yeah, as you can see, we got a close-up of the new redesign of the Locust drone, and it looks amazing. It looks so good. It looks like they've taken like the detail and just the quality of the design of, like, let's say the original Locust Berserker, but actually applied it to the Locust drone. I don't know about you guys, but just looking at it closely right now, I swear, like, the Crimson Omen skull looks now very similar to that Locust drone design. Did they maybe look at the Crimson Omen and was like, could we actually maybe take that skull and use that as reference to make the drone scarier? Because, man, this Locust drone looks like he's packing, man. Look at those teeth. You can see, like, the ridges in its face. Like, chat, yo, the Unreal Engine 5 graphics is for this, you know, fidelity, gameplay, the technical capability of Gears of War E-Day is just going to be an absolute madness. From what I could tell from the trailer as well, maybe, I don't know, but obviously, as the Coalition just stated right there, this is obviously the origins of the Locust War, origins of a lot of our characters that we love from the original Gears of War games. And this is Emergence Day, and it sounds like, from what they're stating with the idea that the enemies are going to feel like, you know, Marcus and Dom are obviously experiencing them for the first time. So I could imagine maybe the Coalition Studio are actually going to maybe change up the gameplay formula for the Locust enemy types to be maybe a little bit different or even harder than what we're used to in obviously the original Gears of War games. And they've obviously said as well that they are scaling upwards. So, you know, if this is what a Locust drone looks like, imagine obviously like the other Locust enemy types from, you know, Wretches, you've got Grenadiers, you've got Cantus, you've got Ferengars, you've got Brumacs, Corpses, Berserkers. Like, you know, what is Marcus and Dom gonna look like when they see a Locust Brumac for the first time? I can't wait to dive in, man. Yo, hopefully I feel like that's maybe where they're going with the sort of way that they're sort of like explaining that obviously this is Emergence Day, this is the first encounter for Marcus and Dom with the Locust Horde, and so the gameplay must be designed around that premise as well. A Tale of Origins, the E-Day reveal trailer wastes no time in reintroducing us to Marcus as he engages in a brutal struggle with the aforementioned Locust drone. However, unlike our previous outings with him, this is the first time that the seasoned horde-soaring soldier we all know has faced off against an enemy like this. You can feel the strain and the helplessness as he jousts with this inexplicable monstrosity before finally fending it off, not with his retro lancer, but a nearby television set. It's this flavor of raw personal brutality and desperation that the Coalition seeks to capture in Gears of War E-Day. Marcus and the world around him are not yet equipped for this level of threat. So I did mention this in my trailer breakdown at Gears of War E-Day video as well. In the trailer, we actually see, you know, Marcus Phoenix pick up a tub telly and slap around the face of the Locust drone, and I do wonder if this is obviously going to maybe be some sort of new gameplay mechanics. We do see a lot of, like, melee combat in this trailer as well. Like, we're going to be able to sort of, like, you know, tug of war out with the Locust drone to try and get them off you and stuff like that. Like, there's obviously a lot of opportunity here just breaking down the trailer itself with, you know, maybe the Coalition obviously looking into expanding the horizon of the gameplay and the mechanics and just making it feel like a little bit more modernized and next gen, you know, like if there's a heavy object right here, I should be able to just go and interact and pick it up and throw it or use it, smash, you know, the heads of a Locust, whatever I want to do, right? There's, yeah, definitely a lot of potential there, and hopefully that's what the Coalition are going for. It says, the eagle-eyed fans among you may have also noticed that the Mark 1 Lancer that Marcus briefly wields, which is the retro Lancer that we know, in the trailer features a detachable bayonet. It's not the chainsaw-equipped gun that we know from the wider series, obviously with the Mark 2 Lancer that did include the chainsaw bayonet on it for that classic Gears of War experience. Fullset confirms to me that E-Day is a story of many origins, okay, including the Chainsaw Lancer. Wow, okay. So not only is Gears of War E-Day the origin story of Marcus and Dom on Emergence Day, and the origin story beginning of their brotherhood, that we obviously do see blossom finally into the original Gears of War trilogy, we're also going to be getting a story of many, many origins. Yo, TC, give me all the origin gas. Let's go. Of course, including the Chainsaw Lancer, which is very interesting just because, obviously, if you are a Gears of War fan like myself and you do know a little bit more about the story lore from the expanded Gears of War universe, we actually do know how the Lancer Chainsaw Bayonet origins came to be. And obviously, it's going to be interesting to see that whether or not they change it up slightly. But what we do know is that Marcus Phoenix in the beginning of the Locust War, shortly after Emergence Day, with Dominic Santiago and another character in the squad who is Ty Kaliso. Of course, we know, rest in peace, Ty, the amazing South Islander from the Aroma Island that Marcus did meet in the Pendulum Wars. If you guys do want to check out that Gears of War origin story lore video, I have that video up on my channel right now. But yeah, in the Gears of War comics or the books, I can't remember right here off the top of my head, but I do know that Marcus, Dom, and Ty are basically fighting a bunch of Locust drones, and the Retro Lancer isn't really being useful, right? Like, the blade isn't really cutting into or stabbing at the Locust drones. Like, their skin is so hardcore that it makes the cog gear armor look weak. And so Ty actually finds a buzzsaw near him, a like lumberjack buzzsaw, and just picks it up and just chainsaws a Locust drone straight through it in half from the back. And Marcus is like, holy shit, like, that was amazing, like, that works so well. And Ty Kaliso responds by saying, Marcus, the world is full of weapons, you just have to go find them. And that actually gives Marcus Phoenix the idea of maybe incorporating the chainsawing into the cog weaponry, right? And so he actually gets in contact, of course, with his father, Adam Phoenix, which, you know, again, another teaser for another possible character that could show up in Gears of War E-Day. And, you know, tells them about their battle experience and Ty Kaliso using a chainsaw buzzkill to just absolutely decimate the inside guts of a Locust drone. And that gives Adam Phoenix the idea to come up with the Mark II Lancer chainsaw bayonet concept, which I do believe doesn't officially actually be created until about 1 year later. So, you know, 1 year after Emergence Day and then 1 year before the Hammer Strikes. Suffice to say, we're not just learning how Marcus and Dom came to be the heroes that we do know in E-Day. The Chainsaw Lancer doesn't currently exist in that period, correct? So again, it really does seem like Gears of War E-Day is really sticking to the story narrative lore, as it should, right? Because honestly, you know, if you guys are just Gears of War multiplayer gamer fans, the Gears of War universe and the story narrative that this Gears of War franchise has to be one of the most underrated but, you know, top gaming franchise stories of all time. The way that the Gears of War story lore, like, intertwines from different games to books to comics, it's a magical thing to experience. You know, I would always highly recommend going over to the Gears of War wiki and obviously diving into the origins of the Locust Horde. Once you know that, you want to know everything else, because that's what basically happened for me, right? But yeah, Forset does say it again, the Chainsaw Lancer doesn't currently exist in that period, but it's not a Gears game if you're not chainsawing Locust. Come on, bring in it, Ty Kaliso. And then we have an amazing shot right here, of course, back from the trailer, as Marcus Phoenix and the Locust drone sort of tug it out, as Marcus tries to fire off some shots right here. And yeah, this is maybe, again, like, another teaser for potential new Gears of War E-Day gameplay mechanics. Like, are we going to be able to, like, toss and toggle with the Locust as they try to maybe, like, steal our weapons, or we can take the weapon off them? I don't know. Fans will also immediately recognize the trailer's inclusion of Mad World, the Tears for Fears track famously covered by Gary Jules and used in commercials for the original Gears of War games. This instrumental cover plays out as Marcus and Dom gaze out into the Locust-decimated ruins of a city, a callback to the profound emotional depth of the landmark 2006 commercial Mad World. Unlike typical video game promotions of its time, this ad stood out by portraying its hero as vulnerable and isolated, sharply contrasting with the over-the-top marketing norms of that era. Of course, still to this very said day that yes, the original Gears of War 1 Mad World trailer will forever go down, in my opinion, as one of the, if not best, video game trailer of all time. Watching back, of course, the Gears of War E-Day trailer that we did get back on Sunday at the Xbox Game Showcase, I have to say, like, this is on the level of those original Gears of War trilogy trailers from Gears 1, 2 to 3, and definitely is up there, maybe close to, if not maybe landing on the podium for me. Our goal was to explore and reinvigorate the foundational ideas of the series, take it back to the origins, take it back to the classic Gears of War experience, and really, you know, highlight what made the successes and the pillars of Gears of War in the first place. Of course, you know, combined with modern gaming and all of the technical capabilities that they do have with the technology now, in both Unreal Engine 5 and the Xbox Series console. So yes, if you are, still on the old Xbox generation, on the Xbox One consoles, if you want to play Gears of War E-Day, you are going to need to upgrade very, very soon for the next Xbox Series X and S, and maybe even, depending on obviously release date, which obviously a lot of people are wondering about, maybe even the next generation of Xbox console. So maybe hold off just for now, but just be in mind that, hey, if you're still on an Xbox One, you're definitely going to have to upgrade to run that Gears of War E-Day gas. As Marcus teeters on the edge in a fierce close quarters battle with the Locust, he swiftly outsmarts the drone by planting the Lancer into the wall, disengaging the bayonet and downing his foe with a kill shot. He takes a moment to recuperate before plummeting through the floorboards to what would be presumably be his death at the behest of a giant emergence hole. We've not seen E-holes since Gears of War Judgment, and watching this cavernous void swallow up an entire building with ease is particularly terrifying. However, in this moment, we see the reveal of a young Dominic Santiago reaching out to help him up, and for longtime fans, it's an emotional homecoming like no other. Yes. As soon as I saw Dom, as soon as we heard the Mad World, piano playing, the feels, the heebie-jeebies, the shivers, I just felt it, instantly come back. Obviously, knowing what Marcus and Dominic Santiago's characters have gone through. So yeah, to see, be able to experience both of these characters again together is just going to be an amazing experience, especially for us hardcore Gears of War fans. But what I love about the idea concept and what I think Gears of War E-Day is literally the best case scenario for Gears of War right now, that this is obviously, like, in my opinion, it's sort of like soft reboot, spiritual reboot for the Gears of War IP to redefine itself for a whole new generation of gamers. And not only, of course, like, this is like one of the best, if not best games ready for the Gears of War fans already, but of course this would be the Gears of War E-Day. This is the beginning of the Locust War origins of Emergence Day, Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago's characters and everything else in the world, that this would be probably at this point, since Gears of War 1, the best time to jump into Gears of War as a video game franchise as a brand new player, a brand new gamer, and maybe a potential new big time Gears of War fan. Dom's back, bro. Hey, yo, Dom, Marcus, Locust War, Emergence Day. Hey, yo, Gears of War is back. Yo, look at the shot in the trailer right here. As soon as I saw this, I was just like, whoa, this looks incredible. This is the first time that we're ever going to see, like, a legit Gears of War, like, Cog City skyline before it gets absolutely decimated and destroyed into that destroyed beauty that we do know and love from Gears 1. Like, if you look in the sort of, like, top center to the left, like, look at these skyscrapers and the skyline. Like, we've never seen that in Gears of War before. Obviously, by the era for Gears 4 and 5, everything is so futuristic, it doesn't really look sort of like relatable when it comes to maybe real life, right? And our, life on planet Earth. Like, this just looks amazing. You can obviously see a bunch of corpses appearing and emerging from the hollows underground, really bringing in the Locust forces. You got King Ravens flying all over the place, scattering to try help everybody out and fight this new enemy. And yeah, this is just going to be absolutely insane. It's Emergence Day. Billions of humans of Sarah get killed on this day. And so, like, honestly, the horror element, the darkness, the tone could literally be almost perfect. And what a better way to obviously do that with Gears of War E-Day. We've just got Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago looking out over here. We have the beginning of Brotherhood. This story is, of course, told from the perspectives of a much younger Marcus and Dom. While the pair are seasoned veterans of the Pendulum Wars, the human conflict taking place before the series begins, which again, I did mention it in my breakdown video because there was that newspaper that did say UIR surrender, the war is over. The Pendulum Wars quickly was a 79-year war conflict between the two superpowers of the humans of Sarah at the time, the Coalition of Order Governments, or the COG, and the Union of Independent Republics, or the UIR. They waged an 80-year war conflict of 8 generations over control of Emulsion, the miracle fuel that was the new energy resource that the entire planet relied on. So obviously, certain COG territories had more natural reserves of Emulsion than a lot of the UIR faction territories. And so that's where, the reason why the war begun. And yeah, it lasted 80 years. And luckily the COG ended it with the creation of the Hammer of Dawn by Adam Phoenix to make the UIR surrender. So, you know, we went from an 80-year war to about 6 weeks of peace, where even in those 6 weeks, most of the soldiers are probably still on their way and actually never make it home, because 6 weeks after the ending events of the Pendulum Wars, the Locust War begins with Emergence Day that we're actually going to be able to play. Incredible, man. So yeah, they do say that this is a wholly new threat for the pair to navigate in Marcus and Dom. The best Gears games have these super emotional themes around shared burden, belonging, trust, and loyalty. And Marcus and Dom have a really interesting relationship going into E-Day, Cersei says. To give some background context leading into the story of E-Day, Marcus and Dom are connected through Dom's older brother, Carlos, who died on the battlefield with Marcus. The pair were best friends, so Marcus and Dom are in the early stages of forming a kinship over a shared loss and navigating those emotions together. We're telling the origin story of Marcus and Dom and their bond. This is the bond that defines the franchise, Cersei adds. They're not the characters that we know from Gears 1 to 3. They don't have like 10 years of fighting the Locust between them. When the game opens up, they're supposed to be at peace on Sarah, and they're trying to figure out life without this person that they both loved. People are going to see the formation of this brotherhood that is so iconic to Gears. Wow, okay, so we not only have the beginnings of the brotherhood right there, but, you know, there's actually a lot of interesting information, and when it comes to Gears of War and the Coalition, you really have to sort of analyze and break down everything that TC ever say, because everything that they put out there and they say has a reason and perspective behind it for them to even say it, right? So, you know, if you break it down right here, it says, to try and give some background context, obviously leading into the story of Gears of War E-Day, yeah, Marcus and Dom are connected through Dom's older brother, Carlos Santiago, who died on the battlefield with Marcus. So again, if you are big Gears of War fans, if you know the expanded universe through the books and comics, this, you know, battle that Matt Cersei from the Coalition Studio is referring to right here, this is the Gears of War Battle of Aspo Fields, which is the, you know, story battle that we did actually get to play a little bit from the Gears of War 4 prologue as Dominic Santiago with Hoffman as part of the Commando squads, which is the same battle, you know? Dominic Santiago, Hoffman, and the rest of the commandos were tasked with the mission objective of, you know, landing on one of the beaches and storming the UIR facility to secure the Hammer of Dawn technology from their scientists. While in the same battle, Marcus Phoenix and Carlos Santiago, I do believe maybe with Helena Stroud, unless she has actually, you know, got killed off at this point already, they're actually on a different location near the beach, attacking and fighting with the UIR sort of like sea vessels. Carlos Santiago basically gets super wounded, where like he knows he's basically dead already. Like he's just too wounded, and you know Marcus is trying to save him as much as he can and pull him onto the safety boats. And yeah, Carlos Santiago, knowing that there's no way Marcus Phoenix and the rest of his COG Brotherhood get away, again, brothers to the end, he sacrifices himself by jumping onto the UIR frigate, the UIR sea vessel, and I do believe, if I can remember off the top of my head, blowing himself up with a bunch of frag grenades. And so, of course, you know, when Dom reunites with Marcus on the sea vessels to escape the facility, he then, you know, Marcus and Dom then obviously learn that, yes, Carlos Santiago has died. Dom's brother, Marcus's best friend, and, you know, they're both left together, Marcus and his best friend's younger brother, to, you know, obviously emotionally go through it. So, obviously, what a better way for players to experience and, you know, be able to connect with that storyline, then what if with actually taking us to the Pendulum Wars and we get to play to begin Gears of War E-Day's campaign in the Battle of Aspo Fields as Player 1 Marcus Phoenix, Player 2 Carlos Santiago, and actually get to experience that as players. Because as we know, we've, you know, got to experience the Dominic Santiago side of that battle through the Gears 4 prologue already. So this would be obviously through the perspective of the same battle through Marcus Phoenix and Carlos Santiago, being honestly what I would probably predict the best way to start this game, because then we can have a little time skip to that moment of peace, right, before the emergence of the Locust Horde themselves. We're telling the origin story of Marcus and Dom and their bond. This is the bond that defines the franchise. I do believe we've actually gone through this already, but who knows? Who loves it? We do. They're not the characters that we know from Gears 1 to 3. They don't have 10 years of fighting the Locust between them. When the game opens, they're supposed to be peace on Sarah, and they're trying to figure out life without this person that they both loved. people are going to see the formation of this brotherhood that is so iconic to Gears of War. Dealing with the new Locust threat becomes the more pressing concern for the two friends over the course of E-Day, but those emotional beats will still course through the story as you play. Fawcett says this is particularly exciting. They're a lot more vulnerable, and I think that's a really modern take on those two characters, Fawcett explains. There's a way that carried between them, and that creates a really interesting tension as they navigate their own relationship. You have this intimate story set amid this wider backdrop of what's happening on this apocalyptic day. I think for fans it'd be really compelling to dig deep and explore that bond and how it changes over time, from the ground up. Key to the Coalition's vision is that, in another nod to the original game, E-Day won't just be a marvel of gameplay and storytelling, but of technology too. Game development has come a long way since the first Gears of War game, and the Coalition, equipped with Unreal Engine 5, is prepared to take full advantage of this evolution to set new standards in technical prowess. When the original Gears of War launched, its Mad World trailer was nothing short of a revelation. Rendered entirely in engine, it set a new benchmark for what gamers could expect directly from their gameplay experience, a rarity at a time when the chasm between cinematic trailers and actual game graphics was notably wide. Epic Games' use of their own Unreal Engine not only showcased their confidence in the game's visual and performance capabilities, but also boldly declared the engine's power. The Coalition is honouring this legacy with the Gears of War E-Day reveal trailer, powered by Unreal Engine 5. Now, I also do know that everything that you see in the Gears of War E-Day trailer is in-game. All of the assets from, the character models of Marcus and Dom, all of the props, the environment, the lighting, the textures, like that is everything that we will be seeing in the final game. And also, the Coalition actually did partner up and team up with Blur Studios to work on this trailer. And I imagine, did Blur Studios help the Coalition with every trailer and every cutscene for this game? If you guys know some of the old, remastered remakes of the Halo games, Blur actually did the, I do believe, the Halo 2 anniversary cutscenes. So yeah, they're amazing, and if they're bringing their, magic to Gears of War and, working with the Coalition, then this might have the best Gears of War cutscenes out of the entire franchise by a long while. Probably jump more into Unreal Engine 5 right here. We have an amazing shot of Marcus Phoenix, a close-up again. You see he's all bloody. He doesn't really have like the crazy big scar on his right side right here, my left. You can actually obviously see again like the little scar from that Locust drone that he did encounter in this trailer. I don't know if it causes the scar maybe on his nose as well. Like, did he break his nose or something? But yeah, if you guys, are obviously interested in the Unreal Engine 5 talk right here, when you do look at Marcus and Dom from the original games, they're big beefy tanks, exaggerated in their design. As you see in the trailer, you can see how these guys have really come to life as human characters in E-Day. And I do wonder that, the 14 years of fighting the Locust War over the course of the war itself, like, that would be a lot of exercise and muscle strength building, right? Like, to constantly be fighting against the Locusts and the drones and, especially getting into, like, sort of hand-to-hand combat. Like, that's going to be some, Gears of War E-Day and just Gears of War character gains, right? So yeah, if you are interested in the UE5 talk right here, you can pause the video. But we are just going to move on just because I've probably, gone very, very long and far already. If you're still here watching, I really do appreciate it. I'm just excited about Gears of War. The fact that we're getting an Emergence Day game, I just can't believe it, man. It literally honestly feels like a brain overload, but I'm so ready for it, right? Let's continue. Oh, baby. We got the close-up of the Locust drone face-to-face. A real nice shot right here. As I said, if you compare the Locust drone new design to the actual Crimson Omen skull, it kind of seems like they definitely used it as a reference and merged the two, right? I just can't wait to see the rest of the Locust enemies. Obviously, as I said, chat, we have so many Gears of War E-Day videos, concept ideas on the way for you guys. I will definitely be doing a video, of course, talking about everything regarding Gears of War E-Day game Locust enemies and types, and, maybe even some new Locust enemies in there. But yeah, the Locust drone just looks amazing. You can see the detail. Wow, like, chat. Yo, Unreal Engine 5 is going to be a madness. Yeah, it's going to be a madness. Look at the detail left on the Locust drone's face being, cut up and mashed up by Marcus Phoenix, taking that TV to the face, right? You can kind of see the deep cuts. You got blood and gore, and you got his saliva hanging out his mouth. Like, this is incredibly looking, man. Holy moly. I think this is going to be one of the best, if not best looking video games of all time. What Gears of War 1 did back in the Xbox 360 era, I feel like we're going to get that again. And mentioning the Xbox 360, honestly, man, it honestly feels like we have that Gears of War Xbox 360 magic back right now. The hype is real, the engagement is up, you know, the Gears of War love is crazy, and I just can't wait to see how it goes. We have the finale of the official Xbox Wire post from the Coalition Studio regarding, obviously, how the future of Gears of War is going to go. So maybe we'll actually get a lot of good answers here. Of course, this isn't the end of other ongoing stories in the Gears series, okay? The team is content with the stories told in Gears 4 and Gears 5, and is by no means abandoning them, but the collective passion for such an iconic origin story was simply too great to ignore. The story of E-Day and the origins of Marcus and Dom are such powerful, pivotal events that the Coalition couldn't wait to tell it. We're super proud of Gears 4 and Gears 5 and the stories that were told for set ads. We're not retreating from that storyline in any way, but in this moment, we had an opportunity to write our next step, and this one just felt too good to miss. So there you have it. A big answer right there regarding both the future of Gears of War and what seems like they're describing, of course, Gears 6, the sequel story game set after Gears 5. I've seen, you know, a couple people obviously disappointed that we aren't getting a Gears 6 maybe anytime soon. It's very, very interesting, right? Like, we obviously went into the Xbox Game Showcase expecting Gears 6, expecting maybe a Gears collection. Me personally, I thought we would get what we get on Sunday, but it wasn't what we got. I thought we would maybe just get like a Gears 6 trailer exactly like that. And then obviously as we watched the show, we got none of that. And we instead got an origin story taking us back to the beginning of the Locust War with Gears of War E-Day, the emergence of pretty much the entire story narrative. But it sounds like, yeah, obviously the Coalition haven't forgotten about the future storyline that they did set. And it does sound like that, you know, Gear 6 isn't cancelled. Gear 6 is not happening. It hasn't been shelved, deleted, anything like that. It does sound like that. For right now, you know, the Coalition, the new Coalition studio, because this is a brand new team. This isn't the same team in the studio and the heads that were, you know, developing and in charge of Gears 4 and Gears 5. Yeah, maybe, you know, some developers obviously during those Gears games are still there. But it's just, you know, we've got a lot of new blood and a lot of new direction. And it sounds like a whole new generation of Gears of War, and I'm so for hear it, man. This is crazy. So yeah, if you are interested in Gears 6, of course, I did actually do a lot of story theory videos. If you do want to go watch those on the channel, and you know, they're still amazing. You know, they still serve great purpose for when the time comes for Gears 6. And I was actually, you know, getting prepared and ready to go do and smash out about, you know, a bunch of Gears 6 videos. But now that we obviously have the Gears of War E-Day official game announcement, there isn't really a reason to do the Gear 6 videos for now, but that would obviously come sometime in the far, maybe near future, when it is the right time for Gear 6. But for right now, my full focus is all about Gears of War E-Day. It's also important to know that E-Day is not a spin-off Gears game. It is a completely new entry to the mainline series just set earlier in the timeline. Wow, so this ain't no Gears of War Judgment, Gears Tactics, Gears Pop situation. This is basically a mainline, brand new Gears of War game. And so I would imagine that it would obviously include everything that you would expect from a mainline Gears of War game. The events of the game not only serve as an exciting origin tale of the two beloved characters, but it also adds detail and context to this period that will resonate through stories that will follow. In E-Day, the Locusts are not foes that our characters are accustomed to fighting. They are mysterious, formidable, and overwhelming. An unforeseen horror that Marcus, Dom, and the rest of Sarah must learn to deal with before it's too late. Everything that happens in E-Day will shape the future of Gears of War for the better. This is the Gears of War story that you've all wanted to hear. I've wanted to hear it. And it's going to be incredible. Keep up to date with the ongoing news about Gears of War E-Day. Follow Gears of War on Twitter. Or, of course, subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter and all social medias everywhere. Because as I said, chat, you guys can expect a crazy amount of Gears of War E-Day content. Yo, that sounds amazing, bro. The future of Gears is finally super bright, man. We were literally in the Gears of War trenches with no news, no updates, no esports, no Coalition, no Gears of War, you know, no presence in the Gears of War franchise whatsoever. And just give us an Xbox game showcase, and it is literally completely changed the world upside down. And we literally went from last week in the darkness, you know, DB&O bleeding out to, I feel like we're just about to enter a whole new era of Gears of War, and hopefully you guys are ready for the wave and the ride that will be, hopefully, just a absolute madness of a journey. Not only do we have, you know, now confirmed officially Gears of War E-Day, we also obviously have as well the upcoming Netflix Gears of War projects confirmed. We are going to be getting a Gears of War Netflix live action movie, followed by a Gears of War adult theme animated series. And depending on obviously the success of those two projects, even more potential for new Netflix Gears of War stories in the future, you know, whether that be live action or animated. If you haven't, you know, seen those announcements, you know, that information, if you do want to go check out the Gears of War Netflix videos up on my channel as well, you know, everything Gears of War related, I got you guys, I got you. But yeah, this just sounds incredible, man, absolutely incredible. There's, you know, a few little sentences that I did notice from the Coalition right here. I believe this is probably, oh no, it's Forset, okay. Yo, shout out to Forset Nicole, there you go. They do say, again, the events of this game not only serve as an exciting origin tale of two beloved characters, but it also adds detail and context to this period. So they're talking about the Locust War period that will resonate, meaning that the events of Emergence Day in this game will have, you know, significant, deep meaning for, you know, stories that will follow after this game. So the Coalition are already thinking about not only the campaign story that's going to be told in Gears of War E-Day, but it sounds like to me they've already thought of and maybe planned out future other Gears of War games that still isn't Gear 6, set again in the Locust War, with maybe classic Marcus and Dom, and obviously the opportunity for any other characters to show up, and how, you know, we can continue to get those classic Gears of War game, you know, story experiences, but maybe, of course, eventually, then again, go into the future with Gear 6 and beyond as well. The Coalition have literally been thinking about Gears of War like this for a very, very long time. I remember there was an interview with IGN all the way back in early 2020 when Bonnie G. Ma was, I think, marketing and doing interviews with IGN about Gears Tactics releasing. They did say, you know, all the way back then that when it comes to the Coalition Studio and their approach and thought process for Gears of War, you know, they don't want to hold themselves into just doing Gear 6 and sequel games. They look at the Gears of War universe and about, you know, 150 to 200 years of story narrative, and all of the negative space, all of the gaps of story that can be told. They want to go tell that, you know, they want to do Gears of War games set in different eras of the timeline. So whether we're in the Swarm War in the future, now we're going back to the Locust War on Emergence Day. Obviously, you've got the Pendulum Wars, you've got the rest of the Locust War, you've got the Hammer Strikes, you've got the Battle of Aethera. There's so much, you know, untapped potential for maybe Gears of War storylines the Coalition want to get into. You have the Lambent Pandemic, you have the Stranded Insurgency, you have different factions from the COG, the UIR, the Stranded. You know, there's always potential for the Coalition to introduce other smaller factions as well. Basically, it's endless. The Gears of War story and the universe and the narrative is pretty much endless. And hey, TC, I want all the Gears of War story. I want to get to 80 years old and just be like, finally, we have experienced the entire Gears of War universe from the beginning to the end. We made it. Crazy. Again, also, as they do mention later on in the same paragraph, they do say that everything that happens in Gears of War E-Day, so everything that happens in the story of Gears of War E-Day as a game, is going to be shaping the future of Gears of War for the better, which again just, you know, helps with the point that I just made, that if Gears of War E-Day is going to have that much of an impact on Gears of War as a franchise, you know, if I do see Gears of War E-Day be a super successful Gears of War game, that will obviously show the Coalition, show Microsoft, show Xbox that this is what Gears of War fans want. But this isn't obviously, you know, not only what we want. Gears of War fans, we want everything, bro. Give me all the Gears of War gas, right? All the story, all the characters, DLCs, every single thing you can do. I want it, and I just can't wait to dive into Emergence Day in Gears of War. So yeah, that is pretty much the end of the Xbox Wire post. As I did mention, we also do have some other game journalist website interviews coming up as well. Just with the Coalition Studio having an interview behind the closed doors, sharing a little bit more information for you guys. Next up, in an interview with the Coalition Studio and Game Files, Stephen Totillo, who states, new Gears of War game will be somber, linear, and very detailed. A chat with the Coalition regarding their surprise prequel. An iconic commercial for 2006 Gears of War is heavily influencing the direction of Microsoft's newly revealed surprise video game prequel, Gears of War E-Day. That had paired footage of the dark, gritty Xbox 360 sci-fi combat game with a sorrowful cover of Tears for Fears' Mad World. That combo, unusual for game trailers that tended to be more upbeat and aggressive, moved players at the time. The commercial became a classic example of so-called sad advertising. The ad was arguably more somber than anything in the actual Gears of War game, though franchise sequels have had enough desperate firefights and shocking deaths that it's become a Gears brand identity. Gears franchise director Nicole Fawcett reinforced that in a behind-the-closed-door group interview I attended in LA on Sunday afternoon. She shared what Gears development studio the Coalition says fans have communicated as the core elements of the Gears of War series. The brutality of Gears, the sadness kind of melancholy vibe. It wouldn't be Gears if it wasn't over-the-top kind of an action spectacle. Never fight alone, a vibe born from the series co-op mode. It also a slogan the Coalition uses in conjunction with an ongoing pledge to donate 1% of the franchise revenue to organizations that work on suicide prevention and loneliness. And what I got of the new game itself, a new Gears of War adventure set in the city of Kelowna. Here's what I've got. The setting. As E-Day's title and trailer show, the new game is set during Emergence Day, a day when locust monsters rise up from holes in the ground across planet Sarah, devastating it and leading into the events 14 years later of the original Gears trilogy. This is the most important day in the entire franchise, the new game's creative director Matt Cerny said, and there's never been a game set here. This is after the Pendulum Wars and soldiers have come home from this generational war, he said. They are entering a time of peace. And then monsters just came out of the ground, so for us it's like a what if story. Like what if monsters came out of the ground in Los Angeles? What would happen? What would people do? It's not just about Gears, but it's also about this place and this time, which we got really excited for. The game's debut trailer, which included some calls from Mad World, features young versions of our series hero Marcus Phoenix and longtime buddy Dom, who famously didn't survive his way into the most recent Gears games. They're dealing with the sudden invasion and getting to know each other over the course of the game. The tech. The debut trailer was created by a long-time trailer maker's blur but uses all in-game assets, a demonstration of just how good the Coalition hopes that they can get E-Day to look. The trailer's built-in engine, Cerny said, that kind of our visual target. Basically, it uses the game's textures, character models, and city Fawcett added. The Coalition have worked closely with original Gears studio Epic Games on utilizing Epic's Unreal Engine 5. That engine has been promoted as the go-to option for developers making epic, destruction-filled environments and games. That's fitting for a game about an attack on a city, the city of Kelowna, the developers told me. They also said players can expect 100 times the character detail of the protagonist in 2019's Gears 5. Numbers are great, but it's how it looks, especially when running in-game. That will matter, we're a way off from seeing that. Oh yeah, how it plays. The way game reveals often work is you get a trailer, check, maybe no release date, check, and most details about the game will come later, check. His more serious answer, it's our next mainline Gears game, so you can kind of look at the other Gears games and get a general sense of the things that are core to Gears of War. As I would imagine, you know, the core foundation pillars of Gears of War as a franchise in every mainline game is of course a campaign story, a versus multiplayer, and a PvE horde mode, and then typically one brand new mode experience that every single Gears of War game has always tried. Back in Gears of War 3, it was Beast Mode. In Gears of War Judgment, it was Overrun. In Gears of War 4, which actually didn't feature anything. And then we obviously had in Gears 5, Escape Mode. So I do wonder if we are going to see a full pillar mode for Gears of War E-Day. And I actually have the perfect idea that I will share in a future video for you guys very, very soon. We make linear stories for a reason. It's about taking an authored story and involving you with those characters and driving through it with gameplay. It would be linear. So for everybody, you know, worrying about, oh, is Gears of War E-Day going to be this like massive open world game? It's not. It's going to be linear, traditional Gears of War, just like the core foundation of the beginning of the franchise. Like, we're not only going back to the origins, foundations of the story, but also from a Gears of War game perspective. He added, there are really cool opportunities in a city at E-Day. Gears plays great in a city, similar to Gears of War 1. It's always been about fighting through these landscapes of this beautiful world that has collapsed. We're going to show you a beautiful world of Sarah, and then we're going to tear it apart. Wow, wow. So we're going to see a time of peace in Gears of War. Finally, the COG, the soldiers, the COG Gears, they have finally got their peace that they have been fighting 80 years for in the Pendulum Wars. And we are going to get a little sneak peek into that peace. Maybe, you know, characters like Marcus Phoenix with Anya Stroud. You have obviously Dominic Santiago with Maria Santiago and the Santiago kids, and obviously anybody else that could maybe possibly show up. But we're going to maybe see the peace of the world of Sarah, and then we're going to see the absolute destruction, chaos. It sounds like Emergence Day is bringing the E-holes, and the city is just going to get absolutely cooked and bodied, man. I'm all for it, TC. Hey, yo, destroy the city. We're going to be in there fighting for our lives. I'm ready. Why no Gear 6? Oh, he just goes straight out there asking the question. Forset promises that the stories of Gears 4 and Gears 5, which featured an aging Marcus Phoenix and a younger main cast led by Kate Diaz, are not being abandoned. She describes making the prequel as the direction the studio was most passionate about. Do they know what would come next in the story after Gears 5? We can't really talk about what the plans are, because we are really focused right now on Gears of War E-Day. So as I said and probably mentioned earlier in the video, I've actually done a lot of Gears 6 story campaign theory videos, which I feel very, very confident in. The fact that, you know, we want to reconnect Kate Diaz to the Hive Mind, use Kate's connection to the Hive Mind, the Swarm, the Locust, and the Enemy Queen to find, locate, and destroy the main Swarm Hive, the main hive of the Swarm network, and most likely where Queen Reyna is residing. And instead of waiting for her to come and get us, we're going to go on the offensive and go attack them. And I do believe that the Swarm origins also tied to the main Swarm Hive could possibly be the Creator Riftworm. The Riftworm in Gears of War 2 was the Destroyer Riftworm, and the Creator is the polar opposite. You know, you have one that is able to destroy life. You would of course have another Riftworm that is able to create life. And that would obviously explain why the Locusts work with the Swarm, where the other new Swarm creatures come from, and why all of the Locusts evolved and the burial sites changed into the Swarm Hives as well. But for right now, you know, we'll put that stuff on hold, but it doesn't sound like Gear 6 is not happening. It just sounds like they wanted to take this opportunity now to, again, soft reboot, you know, spiritual reboot, give Gears of War a whole new chance. You know, a whole new way to introduce Gears of War on a brand new Xbox generation. So what will most likely be literally millions and millions of people in the world, gamers that have never played Gears of War, that don't know who Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago are. And that's why I say this is the best moment to jump in. You know, whether you're a long-time Gears of War fan that you've been playing like me the whole time, whether you used to be a Gears of War fan and want to get back into it, or even, as I say, a brand new player to the Gears of War franchise. They do say, you know, they're not really obviously talking about Gear 6 right now, so obviously I don't really know when to expect Gear 6, and I would say the best thing to do right now is, if you're obviously worrying about that future story, you can go watch my story theory videos on Gear 6, but for right now, let's just focus on Gears of War E-Day, you know, get through that, and then we'll see what happens on the next one. They end it off right here by saying one more thing about E-Day's tone. The game basically has a few key themes that we do explore, like burden and loss, also loyalty to trust. We don't just explore it through Marcus and Dom, we look at it through the world and through other characters that are in the game. Heavy stuff, but there will still be chainsaw guns too. It's a mad world. So yeah, it sounds like, because obviously we know that Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago survived E-Day to the original Gears of War trilogy, to somewhat of a degree. So obviously, like, Marcus and Dom can't be killed in this game. So for us to obviously experience that, as they, you know, speak about the themes of burden and loss, it must obviously relate to other characters that are close to Marcus and Dom that will tragically be a part of the billions of humans on Sarah that do lose their lives and die on Gears of War's Emergence Day. Next up, we're going to move straight on to the next article interview right here. I do believe it is with Games Radar, and then we'll finish it off with the Gears of War E-Day IGN article interview. So jumping straight into it, no delay. This video is probably super long already, but hey, I love this discussion. I love talking Gears of War, and the fact that we have a brand new Gears of War game in Emergence Day to finally talk about. I just gotta let it all out, right? Gears of War E-Day director says the new shooter will be absolutely be doing more linear levels instead of the Gears 5's open-ended maps. It sounds like E-Day will be a denser experience. Gears of War E-Day is ditching Gears 5's open world levels for a more linear experience. Gears of War fans, original Gears fans cheering everywhere. That's according to Gears creative director Matt Cersei, speaking to Games Radar Plus during a group interview at the Summer Games Fest 2024. The director revealed that Gears of War E-Day, the new prequel game taking place years before the original third-person shooter, is set in the city of Kelowna, a brand new location for the Gears of War franchise. We've worked on Gears now in our studio for like 10 years. We've got a really good handle on things that work really well in Gears, as well as like things you want to keep pushing and trying. We know for sure that Gears, as you know, has those linear epic moments in them. Cersei said when asked about E-Day taking the series back to its more linear roots. We've done a bunch of them, we know how to do that, the creative director continues. Speaking of the linear moments in the Gears of War series, and we will absolutely be doing more of that, Cersei confirms, pointing to how Gears of War E-Day is set entirely within a city, and how a cityscape naturally lends itself to more linear opportunities. It's going to feel new and also authentically Gears at the same time, because we're able to take all the things that we know were awesome and bring, you know, new techniques and expertise, as well as a new engine, all of it, Cersei concludes. Elsewhere in the interview, Cersei confirms to Game Radar Plus that E-Day won't be set over just one day, but over multiple days. It'd be natural to assume that the former, given that Emergence Day was a singular, catastrophic event in the Gears of War world, but apparently the new game will focus on Marcus and Dom as they do deal with the fallout of the Locust invasion and not just the initial attack. Wow, we got a lot of Gears of War E-Day story details just in this one interview alone. You know, the idea and the sound of a more linear, traditional Gears of War campaign experience. You know, we're taking it back to the city, we're getting horror, we're getting gore, we're getting dark elements. You know, the tone is going to be absolutely perfect as Emergence Day happens and billions get killed. But we're not only going to be experiencing Gears of War Emergence Day, we're also going to have the pleasure to see the fallout and the aftermath of E-Day, and now how that affected the entire world of Sierra. You know, what was the event, and, you know, how was it after it happened? How did it affect the entirety of the Gears of War Planet Sierra world and every single character that we know and love? You know, it's going to be very interesting to obviously see initially, like, the reaction of Marcus and Dom to the Locust Horde enemy, but also their reaction to the aftermath of Emergence Day. And I would assume just, like, not believing that this is even real, right? So yeah, I do believe that is actually the end of the Games Radar interview right here. It says, Gears of War E-Day's gorgeous trailer wasn't just CG, it used assets that players will see in the final game. So moving on, lastly, we do have the Gears of War E-Day IGN interview right here, which is titled, stated, Gears of War E-Day devs promise return to horror from the original games. We need to be able to tell a story that feels like a horror story. The Coalition is taking fans back to where it all started with Gears of War E-Day, and that means revisiting the horrors of Emergence Day and the Locust Horde. Brand director Nicole Fawcett and creative director Matt Cersei, yo, shout out to those legends, they've been, you know, on the work grind with the interviews, yeah. Opened up about the studio's desire to focus on the scary aspects of Gears during an interview with IGN. Cersei says that the team wants to capture a moment in time and tell a very intimate story about what happened to the people in one of Sierra's cities. For us, it's like a what if story, he said. What if the ground opened up and monsters came out? Yeah, it's a set on a fictional other planet, but there are very human reactions and stories we get to tell. To do that, we need to be able to tell a story that feels like a horror story. Cersei continues explaining that Gears of War E-Day will still have the heart and sci-fi this series is known for, but it will also focus in on a specific moment in time by telling a story that takes place only over a few days. The decision to lean into more of the horror comes from the Coalition's desire to recapture the feeling of terror many players might remember experiencing when playing through the original Gears series. We looked back at what people felt like when they played Gears of War or any of the Gears games, even Gears 4 included, he said. But when people tell you about what they remember playing, the things that stood out to them, the feelings, a lot of it is about these kind of dark, almost horror-esque scary moments, Cersei continued. So we basically took that feeling, that vision that's in everybody's head, and we're like, that's the game that we're going to build. We're going to build that game with all the skills that we've learned, with all the technology that we've built, and sort of go hard at that. So definitely a part of the story is about reintroducing the Locust to Gears as scary monsters from the ground come up, and then you realize as it goes on, this is not just about monsters, there's an army here and it's bigger than anybody else thinks it is. And lastly, to finish off the interview with IGN and the Coalition Studio developers, Fawcett elaborated on how the new technology is allowing the Coalition Studio to present the Locust in new horrifying ways. Through Unreal Engine 5, we can now show the Locust at that visual fidelity that is believable as scary creatures from the subterranean, she said. And so, like you saw in the trailer, we're really kind of leaning into those horror vibes as fans remember it, and as time has moved on. What was scary in 2006 is very different in 2024, which is true. You know, I played Gears 1 against that Locust Berserker fight, absolutely shit in my pants at 11 years old. I'm almost 30 now, so yeah, definitely, you know, life has changed. There's sort of that just doubling down on how people remember how they feel about it. Why Emergence Day? Yes. Gears of War E-Day is detouring away from the storylines of Gears of War 4 and Gears 5, but as the Coalition explained in an Xbox Wire post, which we did cover earlier in the video, they won't be abandoning that era of the Gears saga forever. Cersei tells us that the studio chose to go back in time for the next Gears of War game, not because they weren't finished with the previous storyline, but because revisiting Marcus and Dom's relationship made sense for the team itself. For us, there's a story here for our studio of how we found our way to Emergence Day, he explained. It was about sort of reflection, and part of it is just the energy that rolls up about it. This was the story that we wanted to tell at this time, so it wasn't really about picking between these things. It was just a snowball of the stuff that was on the table, and this is one that we wanted to do right now. Hell yeah, we wanted to make this. Fawcett chimed in saying that when the idea for Gears of War E-Day came about, it was a feeling of hell yeah, we want to make this. Cersei continued, we love those characters, and like I said, it's really nice to have a franchise where we can tell stories of different places. When we're at in Gears 4 and Gears 5, we tell these stories and tactics. That goes at a different time, and all of these sort of things. For us, it's just the one that we wanted to work on now is the one that felt right. The Coalition revealed Gears of War E-Day during yesterday on Sunday's Xbox Game Showcase. We've not seen any gameplay just yet, but its first footage promised a return to the series' roots with a touching moment that did see the return of fan-favorite character Dominic Santiago. It's been 13 years since fans watched Dom sacrifice himself for his fellow COG brothers in Gears of War 3. So while Fawcett and Cersei promise a horrific prequel that explores one of humanity's darkest days, it's sure to be an emotional journey too. Ah, man. So there you have it, guys. That was my Gears of War E-Day. Everything that we know so far officially from the Coalition Studio video. This is definitely going to be probably one of the longest videos that I've ever recorded and made. You know, no notes, no references. We've obviously just gone through the articles themselves, and I've had an absolute amazing time just hanging out with you guys this past week, you know, since the weekend, since the announcement reveal of Gears of War Emergence Day. I love talking Gears, and I just can't wait for the future. Please make sure to leave me a comment down below telling me what you think. What is your guys' opinion on the future of the Gears of War franchise and everything that you did learn in this video regarding everything official from the Coalition Studio when it comes to Gears of War E-Day. Again, as I do mention at the very end of this video right here, if you guys haven't been keeping up with the YouTube channel, we are approaching 100,000 YouTube subscribers. We are just 4,700 away. And if you do want to go check out the trailer, the reaction, or even my Gears of War E-Day trailer breakdown video, they are all ready to go live on the YouTube already. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we are so close to 100,000 YouTube subscribers. If you aren't subscribed and you're still watching the video, what are you doing? Do you want some Gears of War E-Day content? Like I said, I've got so many videos, content, concepts, ideas that I'm going to be bringing you guys. I hope you're ready to be absolutely mind-blown by the crazy amount of Gears of War E-Day content that is going to come your way. And hopefully, we really do hit that 100,000 subscribers soon, because we've been grinding, man. It's been 12 years of Gears of War content. You know, we've been waiting 5 years with nothing for this point, and we finally made it, and we are so damn close. Of course, if you do want to support me a little bit extra, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button on my YouTube channel, which will actually give you access to emotes, channel badges, and most importantly, early access before everybody else in the world for these Shadow Knight YouTube channel members to be the first people to watch all of my Gears of War E-Day videos. Typically, when I make YouTube videos, like for this one, for example, I will hopefully try and get the video done today. I'll upload it today for all members, and then it will go live for everybody else tomorrow, 24 hours later. Unless it's like some proper like breaking news Gears of War information, then obviously I will try to bring that to you guys as quick as I can. Again, thank you guys so much for showing the crazy love and support, the, you know, insane amount of just super nice and positive comments on the channel, on all the videos recently. It's just amazing and just incredible to see. Thank you guys so much. Leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you already. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, I shall see you in the next one.